Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen. This video will give you tips on how to start a new city in City Skylines. This guide is good for beginners and veteran players. When you start, make sure you hit the pause button. Finances and money are extremely important for the city at the beginning, and so you want to build while the city is paused so that it doesn't subtract money out for all the infrastructure that you've built out. When you start, you won't have access to a lot of roads, so just start out with the cheapest road you can do. A lot of times it's good to start out with a dirt road if you can, and then all you have to do is build a small section, and that will unlock all the other roads for you. So whichever road you want to do, just pick a cheap road, and that way it unlocks most of the other roads. When you do start building, though, do not use the small 2-lane roads that are over here in this small road section. Do not use those. When you build a city, always go for these medium-sized roads. They're this size, and that allows you to upgrade them to large depending on traffic flow and traffic issues in your city. When you build, you'll do this, and then you can go 10 units out a lot of times. That way your grid is maxed, but you do not want to do that. You actually want to build 12 out. 12. Let me show you why. If you do start using these 2-lane roads and you want to upgrade later, if you go into one of these 4-lane roads and you want to upgrade, now the space in between these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's actually less than it could be. You're actually building too much roads for less zoning, so the density is not going to be very good. However, if you build them 12 apart, then when you upgrade, you can see that it has filled in the area in between, and they're 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 squares apart each, or 8 squares apart, because zoning builds out at a maximum of 4 squares. So make sure you do that. So you start out with pausing the game, build a cheap road to unlock some of the roads, and then from there really use the medium-sized roads. And if you want to be a little bit cautious with your money, okay, go for the dirt-sized road, but build in plenty of gaps so that you can expand later on. See, there's this little gap in the middle. You upgrade, boom, 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 and it's filled in nicely. And then you will have to do some rezoning when you do that. All right, the other thing that you want to do is, because money is so important at the beginning of the game, here on your budget, you want to work all of your services down to the left side of the screen, make them as minimized as possible. That will save you money. And then eventually, you'll want to, when you get access to taxes, set up your taxes. Ideal rate is between 10 and 12%. When you pick a starting spot for your city, you want to make sure you build close to the water, because your residents need water to drink, and that's where you want to release all of the wastewater. You can see these arrows. That's showing the water flow. The pumping station, make sure that you do not put that below the where the wastewater goes. Otherwise, all your residents are going to be drinking poop water. That's going to make them sick, but also it's a terrible thing to do. So make sure that your water pumping stations are built upstream, and that way the poop water flows downstream, and you're not bringing that back into the system. So make sure you do that. So build by the water, or close to the water, so you can access water for your residents, and make sure your pumping stations are upstream. Again, look for the arrow icons. When you start, a lot of times you'll see this type of intersection for the entrance for your city. Do not zone or build anything too close to it, because you're going to destroy this eventually. As the city grows, you're going to build not only zoning, in this case, east, but you'll be building zoning west. And so eventually you will destroy this and create a more proper highway intersection. For example, this intersection right here, which is this, right? This three-way intersection. It was right around here when I started the city, and you can see that it's been replaced, in this case with a stack interchange. And there's zoning on both sides of the highway, so keep that in mind. When you build water pipes, the gap between the coverage area is 23. That's the maximum gap. So if you want to be as efficient as possible with your water pipes and the distance, you go 23 units. 23 units. However, if you want to make it a little bit more realistic, my understanding is that technically water pipes are built underneath roads for most cities, and so that would be a more realistic way of building it. I want to thank City Planner Plays for explaining that. Power. When you're building power, most people like to do the coal power plant. I prefer the wind turbine. However, if you do the wind turbine, make sure you place it in these dark areas. See, it says construction cost $6,000, estimated production 8 megawatts. So you want to make sure you get the maximum you can by putting it in the windiest areas, which are indicated by the dark blue. If I move over here, look at that, estimated production 1 megawatt. So if you are going to use the windmills or the wind turbines, put them in these areas that are dark blue. Make sure it says 8 megawatts. If you are going to use the coal power plant, one thing that you want to be aware of is it requires trucks to bring the coal in. And so if your city starts to develop terrible traffic and the coal delivery trucks can't get here, they will, these coal power plants will stop producing energy, causing a rippling effect through your city. That's another reason why I don't like them. Trash. If you're going to do trash, you got the landfill site, that's fine, but as soon as you get access to the incineration plant, start emptying your landfill sites. Otherwise, they just take up unlimited space, or they take up more and more space, and they fill up, and you have to keep on building them. So empty them out and start to use the incineration plant. And if you have access to the recycling centers, then you can use those as well. When it comes to death care, again, you start out with a cemetery. Those do fill up, so you have to keep on building cemeteries. Same concept. As soon as you get access to the crematorium, build crematoriums and start emptying out your cemeteries. When you start building road intersections, a lot of times if you have a regular small road and there's going to be, and you have a bigger road intersecting it, normally default, the game will start to put lights right in at those intersections. You want to remove the lights. You go here, traffic routes, and then you go to junctions, and then you can turn the light off. So make sure you remove the lights. That will help with your traffic flow. If you do have Traffic Manager, there's a setting for you to actually make sure that the lights don't turn on when you build those types of intersections. That's why you did not see any intersection right here. Again, it's better to just use the 4-lane roads so you can upgrade to 6 without having to redo any zoning for any traffic issues your city might develop. You can use the skinnier 2-lane roads for like cul-de-sacs or dead-end roads. Mass transit. There's only one thing you really should do. The metro, which is the subway system. That's really the only one. Buses, they cause problems with traffic a lot of times with the buses on the road. So it's a little bit of a hassle. It creates a lot of people walking on the street, which can also be a hassle. So just stick with the subway system or the metro system. You can, of course, use the big passenger trains. That's fine. Industry creates a boatload of traffic. If you are going to build a cargo train terminal or a cargo harbor, you've got to build a queue for the trucks because there's so much traffic going into those and they can only handle so much at a time. It's going to create a backlog of trucks, and that can have a ripple effect if you do not have a queue. Similarly, when you build an industrial zone, make sure that it is not very big. Keep them relatively small, dispersed throughout your city. Otherwise, if it's too big, it's going to create way too much traffic. An example of mixing in industry is this. So industry is in yellow. you can see that there's blue, which is commercial, right next to it. The turquoise, whatever this color is, which is office space next to it, and residential. So don't go crazy with building too much industrial zoning. It's going to create a lot of traffic problems. Similarly, when you are working out the zoning for your city, industry needs to be next to commercial. Industry creates goods, commercial sells the goods to the residents. So industry, then commercial, then residential. Make sure that the residential is near the commercial so we can buy the goods, and then also make sure it's not too far from the industry so we can go to work there. And then if it's close enough, like this, people will actually walk from the residential to the industry when they're nearby enough, and therefore they're not going to get in your car, and that will help with traffic. So when you're starting out your city, make sure you're near water, and then also make sure that you're not putting your industry too far away. Remember, you can keep it somewhat close because you can always update the zoning later when you have more money. As your city grows, if you start to have more of a demand for certain services, if you in the budget reduced it to a minimum amount, like you went down to 50, before you build something else to help with that shortage, first increase the budget allotted for that item. So for example, let's say that your water production is not enough. So instead of building another water pumping station, first take a look and see if you can increase your water budget. That will be cheaper than building a new pumping station. Obviously, if you're maxed out and there's still a shortage, then you will have to build whatever that structure is. Industry specialization. When you start out, you can't really do any specialized industry, so it'll all be generic. Stick to the generic. Stick to the generic industry. If you do want to specialize, only do farming or forestry. When you specialize, do not do the ore or the oil. Do not do the ore or the oil unless you actually turn on unlimited ore and oil. Otherwise, those actually deplete. So if you are going to do specialization, you can do the farming, you can do the forestry, but only make it small part of your city. Vast majority of the industry in your city should be generic. 80% of it should be generic. So be cautious of doing too much specialized industry. Otherwise, it's going to mess up your traffic because it's going to mean that your city is going to be importing way too many goods. If you have the opportunity to do so, get Traffic Manager. That will really help with traffic management, fixing traffic, improving traffic flow. And lastly, do not build the Hadron Collider. That's a terrible building. It will wreck your city. And if you do want to install it, you can unsubscribe from me and dislike this video. Thank you very much for watching. I do live stream. Schedule's in the description below. Please stop by, say hello. And if you did like this video, smash that like button. If you want to provide me more support, hit the subscribe button. All right, thank you for watching. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.